our national anthem is a sort of a form of prayer that captures all every religious group. It makes us purely secular state where everybody is free to serve this God, this and God in our own way. So please, David, please you go ahead and do this one.
Albert Congo raises the flag of the new nation.
Thank you. And we're giving honor to our country. Thank you so much. Like our usual boss and this time, we're very conscious of safety. So safety is important in everything we do. So if you, as long as you're within this environment, if you go to the left, you go look at the back there, that's the exit. And you walk down straight to the right. That's you have the conveniences all the way. There are signs, those conveniences. And I would use this opportunity to see and then welcome all our assembly to this occasion. Welcome, esteemed invitees to this family get together on solutions of challenges in catfish farming in Nigeria. We are delighted to have you today to share experiences, insights, and innovation on innovative solutions to the challenges facing the catfish industry in Nigeria. As a global leader in animal nutrition and health, Dsm is committed to supporting the growth and development of aquaculture in Nigeria. Our products such as our enzyme solutions, our mycotoxin risk management solutions have been designed to promote sustainable and efficient catfish farming practices across the globe. Today, we have assembled a team of experts and practitioners to share their knowledge and expertise on addressing these challenges facing the catfish industry. Our seminar aims to provide a platform of learning, networking, and collaboration, enabling us to overcome the obstacles of and to unlock the full potential of catfish farming in Nigeria. But before we begin, I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the importance of environmental safety. Please note our venue has been designed to ensure minimal environmental impact. I would encourage all participants to attend environmentally friendly practices throughout the event. So we appreciate your participation and contributions to this important discussion. Having responded to our invite and the short notice, your insights and experiences will enrich our understanding and inform effective solutions. Finally, I would like to express our gratitude to our team at Dsm, our experts who are taking time off from their jobs in the global region, and then our support team, and even the farmers who are taking time out of their own farming practices to come and grace this location. That aside, you guys will be wondering what's about DSM. DSM, some people say DSM, they say GSM, DSM. Basically, DSM is supposed to be a company that was formed 102 years ago in 1902 by the Dutch, and was named Dutch State Mines. They were principally in mining corporation, but with time they went into chemical ingredients, agricultural ingredients. Then, with the advent of rush in Nigeria, they were converted into fine chemicals and vitamins. Not to bore you with too much history, but today, what we have today now, the background of what we have today comes to be called the DSM Foundation is another story. But the idea of this seminar started 1.5 years ago. We started with a discussion with just 4 people on the internet. And we had a discussion with just 4 people and get to the point and see that we already know and we have an idea that there are challenges that the farmers cannot really have a solution to. But we at DSM have a solution to that. So I will at this point hand over to Mr. Sijero Michael to continue with the program as a master of ceremony. Please put your hands together for Mr. Sijero.
Great farmers, no farmer, no, you cannot get it. So it's important as the national anthem is important to Nigeria. So this farmers slogan too is important to the agriculture sector in the country. So we have to get it right. But the thing that is you don't have to stand up like the national anthem. So it's when I say great farmers, it's a great nation. When I say all right. So I'll be mixing English and Yoruba and Igbo and French and possibly Dutch. Is that okay? All right. So great farmers, no farmer. Yes. When we say no farmer, you say no food. I'll come back to you. So you better get this down. So great farmers, no farmer, no food. You got it now. No food, no nation. Great farmers, great nation. No farmer, no food. No food, no nation. Then we have 2 additions in Lagos. What we take it for now say fish protein, best protein. Are you getting that, Dr. Bo? Fish protein, best protein. Then because we are in Lagos and there's an association of fish farmers that they call last Capan. We now say last Capan, we now say a co for fish. That is Lagos for fish. Lagos is also called a co. So a co for fish. So don't mind me. So we'll do a brief for introduction later. So I introduce myself, then everybody to you introduce yourself. Because I don't want to impersonate anybody, and I don't want to be impersonated too. Do you understand? So you tell us who you are, what you are doing in the sector. So, but if you are not relevant, you don't tell you to come and be going. Because the invitation is strictly by the accommodation is strictly by invitation. So that's why we don't have a full house, because we don't want people that does not really need this information to be here today. So that's why if not, this whole place won't contain us. You understand? So the serious minded event is going to be a lot of loaded with a lot of information. So let's do that then. We'll do our introduction. So great farmers, no farmer, no food, fish protein. Put your hands together for yourselves. All right. So first, then Dsm. Where's Dr. Abaso? Dr. Abaso. Dsm. What's the slogan?
DSM, we bring progress to life. DSM family, we bring progress to life.
All right.
So when you say DSM family, just echo, we bring progress to life.
All right.
It's not like that.
Okay. Okay. So,
you know, when you go to the shrine, and then everybody say, yeah. So what would that do? DSM family, progress to life.
all right.
Okay, let's go together.
All right. So we want to do that very well now. Let's take it from the beginning. Let's rehearse first. DSM family. So people are still like DSM family. Hey, you are not saying this thing. Your voice is attached to this thing. Very important. So DSM family. All right, put your hands together for yourself. All right, so quickly we'll run into the program and I'll do a brief introduction of myself. My name is Sergio Michael Fantino, and I'm a professional fish farmer, and I'm privileged to be the NDC of Self Farm Consult Limited. An agriculture, a one-stop agriculture enterprise based in Lagos, and I'm also the president of the Lagos State Catfish and Allied Fish Farming Association. That's master man. So, I'm wearing 3 caps today. I've told you 2 of the caps. So, this is Abby, and this is the second cap. So I put it on like this now. This is set fast. So the second cap is the last cap and president. And what is the third cap? Let me know who will get that. What is it? Cap and PRO. Wanted to say how to do. Okay. And what's the third one? It's not very important one. FC of today's event. Put your hands together for me. So I will lead and the captain of the ship today. And I've been in this industry for close to 2 decades now. And my wife too. She's a professional. We are both professional farmers. We studied together, and she's a woman. Clap for me. My wife is a woman. You know, there are different kind of marriages today now. Different things are happening. Is your husband a man? All right. So that's the brief introduction about myself. So can you put your hands together for me? All right. So what I want us to do the introduction of ourselves is so that we can do it properly and briefly. There is somebody that a friend of mine. If that guy introduced you at an event, if you are wise, you should not go alone because there may be a problem. Your life is not safe. Because they will introduce you and you'll be like, who was they referring to? Who was they referring to? So I told him, whenever I'm around you at any event, don't introduce me for security reasons. So you can see that the kind of introduction I did to myself is modest, at least I'm safe. I don't tell you about my bank account. I don't tell you about the number of funds I have. You understand? So just tell us, give us a brief introduction of yourself. We are using this to settle in before we start fully. So I'll start from DSM. You do a special introduction to start the program. So let's the invited guests aside from the special guests. So we want to do an introduction of ourselves because there are not too many in the hall. So it's an opportunity for you to advertise yourself. You can see the data for what's called for the payments, for the bills, for this advertisement. So just sell yourself under 30 seconds. So we'll give. Is there a second mic? Is there a second mic? Okay, let that go round. So just do a brief introduction of yourself quickly. Aside the DSM family and the guest speaker. So just a brief introduction of yourself. Can we start from there? Tell us where your farm is located and tell us the value chain you play and your name.
Good morning. My name is Ola Dsm. I'm the CEO of Golden Gate Fish Farm and Blue Rice Aquaculture, a subsidiary of Golden Gate Fish Farm. Yes, I'm a fish producer. Then we also construct Blue Rice Aquaculture. We are into pond construction and tarpaulin pond. We construct aquarium, and we're also into fish processing. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Akim is my name. I'm a fish farmer and provide comprehensive support to aquaculture. I've been involved in fish production, farm setup, table fish production, value addition, and I'm also involved in training of farmers. Thank you.
Your locations are where?
I'm located in the Ibadan.
All right.
My name is Deji Adinka. I'm a fish farmer based in Ibadan, and ED Axis and Agriculture. I'm in Tigura and I'm presently the chairman for the State Catfish Farmers Association.
And my name, I produce and grow out. I've been practicing for some years ago. I'm a member of Catfish Association of Nigeria for your state chapter.
Hello, good morning. My name is Philip Dewomi. I work for National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control, NAFDAC.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dele Oladapo. I'm from Veterinary Medicine and Allied Products, a directory from NAFDAC, Lagos. Thank you very much.
See that we have our regulators here, so you're welcome.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Mr. Franklin, a fish nutritionist and aquaculturist. My farm is at the Luja community to Shedley, Abeokuta. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. I'm undergoing training in fish farm and social.
Good morning. My name is Ismail Olati. I'm into aquaculture management from SIP. I'm into market. I'm based in the building. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yakolamafi. I'm into fish production, consultancy, So I pay it in my language.
International Region of Cameroon. We are located in Ghana. We have how many activities, production, fish, and fish and so on. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Olafumi. I'm a representative from Creole Global. We're into feed production. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is David Adewomi, a retired banker and a fellow of this from Nigeria. Now, a fish farmer. I'm a processor and an aggregator. We are also into feed production. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bishop from Driver Resources Limited. We're into fish farming. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marcus. I'm from the Dsm Development Initiative. Part of what we do, please, fish value chain. Thank you.
Okay, hold on, sir. Because I said you should keep it brief for security reasons. They are all very powerful. Do you understand? So,
You understand?
yes, all of them.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Adele. I'm the technical manager from Dsm Limited. And what we do is we produce feed and render contact services for nutritionists. And also, our concern is majorly based on specialty ingredients, and we produce feed. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fela Shokolabiromani. I am a consultant with the US Greens Council and the World Initiative for Soil and Human Health. But personally, I'm a farmer myself. I operate along the value chain for processed fish, and also I do a little bit of aquaculture extension to farmers as well. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheila Jakorede. I'm into catfish production and processing. I'm based in Dubai.
Yeah, my name is David Ajayi. I'm an aquaculturist, and I'm also a representative of Premier Feed Mill and Co. There with the brand name Top Feeds. We produce the animal nutrition for all livestock. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Moyo Samuel from Kedebura. I work with Premier Feed Mills Company Limited as the technical application officer at Aqua, whereby we run trials and proof of products. And aside that, I have my brand, Model Foods, where I sell smoked catfish.
Good morning, everyone. I repeat my humble self, Ridwan Okechale, and I work with Tom Feed. What do I do? We provide services to customers, and we encourage you to improve the customer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this introduction. Please, Madam Clerk.
Okay. My name is William. I work with Catfish.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ms. I represent the Traders Limited. Thank you.
You guys from I work with integrated vital concepts based in
Well, my name is Oswald. Indigenous states, we should give thanks to this environment. Good morning, everybody. I'm Professor Yemi Academic Services, an educator and knowledge distributor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mrs. Salani, and I'm an aquaculture specialist, EO of Aqua Nutritional Limited. We render technical services to farmers. We also benefit from them. Thank you.
So it's okay. It's okay, sir. For security reasons, the MC and the guest speaker will introduce himself when he comes there for protection sake. You understand? So now the last introduction we had there, you can see her very beautiful. That's the definition of processed fish, value addition. So if all of our fish products can be packaged like this, in big business, and you put your hands together for her, and you can see the other woman here, all the women here. So, because when I'm doing my presentation, most times I like using physical illustrations. So put your hands together for all the female farmers in the house. All right, so we'll run with the program now, and I believe the introduction is good because that has helped us a lot to know those in the hall here. So it's going to drive our conversation as well too. So I want to hand over to Dr. Basso to do a proper introduction of the DSM family before we call on the first guest speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Jaro. Nice to have you here. Thank you for doing what you wanted to do, guys. Correct. I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to everyone. We have a very good mix here, from the academics to the field to the veterinarian to the fish aquatic biology to the business student to the process of things. So we're going to have a very good and robust discussion. So on the side of the DSM family, for the OPM, like we normally say, that's optimal vitamin nutrition, where we'll have Dr. Iman, Afif from Turkey here. Yeah, so I'm he's a specialist in aquaculture. He's a veterinarian by background, and he's been with DSM for some time. I will be able to put the number of years, so maybe 5 years. Correct. Good. Then we all know, like I heard my madam say that, oh, I fed one fish. After feeding this fish, we took some raw materials to the analysis, and then the results were not good, and the fishes didn't do well, etc. So in that regard, we have somebody who will talk about something that we don't take very seriously. And that's the reason of more growth with the support of the team on the mycotoxin risk management solutions from DSM. And lastly, we are going to see on how to manage disease control, gut health, and agriculture. The Nigerian farmer and by proxy, the whole of Africa, or West Africa, we are always running to antibiotics. Any small little thing we give the chick, we add antibiotics to the feed for the fish. But unfortunately, we waste money on antibiotics because when the fish is sick, the first thing that happens to the sick fish is not. So you give it antibiotics, it's just a waste of money. So in that regard, we have started from us who would do justice to how to approach challenges when it got to do with diseases. You are going to manage the goal of the fish. Prevention is better than cure. Then look at the cost effectiveness of your feed raw material. Everybody says that soybean is very expensive, maize is very expensive. We don't know what alternatives we have. Even when we have alternatives, how available are those alternatives? But we at Dsm say you can use what you have in your environment, but it is how you manage those raw materials that matter. So in that regard, we're talking about maintenance and the impact on your flexibility of usage of raw materials and for optimal performance and for the profits and better display. So growth will do that as we go. Then at the end of the day, we can now ask ourselves, have we gained anything from this discussion? We'll ask ourselves. Definitely, I know we have to ask ourselves. But I can assure you, by the time we go through all this series of discussions, we will have an estimate as to how to manage those challenges that faces us every day. Thank you. Sarah, you can take over from here.
All right, can we put our hands together for So, before I call on the main speaker for today, I want you all to know the reason why we are here. It is because of what DSL does. They are not deserving. We won't want to come and waste our time with them, but because they have something to offer. And that's one thing that interests me so much, and looking at what they do. So you add another acronym to DSM, makes it simple. The things you do is called EDS. They are progressive, but what you do is EDS. So that is why we want you to identify with you. You have it as bringing progress to life by combining the essential. We want to know what the essential is or what the essentials are. We want to know. Then we want to know what the desirables are. The desirables, we want to know. Then we want to know what the sustainable plan is. Do you get it? So this you do justice to. And I think that is interesting for us to know. And that's why we are collaborating with you and progressively, like you said. So can we put our hands together while I call on Dr. Babalola Emmanuel. We'll give you the permission for 1 minute to do a proper introduction of himself, so that when he's talking, we can listen very well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, my name is Emmanuel. I am the professor of agribusiness. I am the Deputy Provost, College of Agriculture and Vocational Training of Catfish International University, Connecticut, in the United States. I started, I'm still introducing myself, so let me finish so that you can observe the class. I started as a researcher. I am science-based research, not just paper-based research. From there, I transitioned into the act of farming. I went into the practice of fish farming. And from there, I graduated into the business of aquaculture, into the business of fish farming. So in the business, it is more than just smoking catfish and selling. We create systems so that the business does not revolve around an individual. It becomes a system that is self-sustaining. So if I am not within the confined environment of where my business operates, I don't have a sleepless night. So I am sure because of the business I have put in place, the business goes on without me. So that's why I said I am wearing 3 caps. Okay, I didn't tell you that. I'm wearing 3 caps today. And this background is very important because of the way I am going to be approaching the state of catfish farming in Nigeria today. I'm going to be speaking from these 3 perspectives: the science perspective, the farming perspective, and the business perspective. So that's me in a nutshell. Thanks to DSM for this platform that you have created and have built with the opportunity to be able to speak to us. And I also want to acknowledge the presence of some of the people who trained us. I am Prof in the house. I went through him when I was doing my PhD. It is to tell you that whatever it is we are saying, we have witnesses. And I have 2 guys in the house. Franklin is there. I did some courses when I was doing my PhD because I didn't do my master's in FUNAB. So we were together in the class at that time when I was running my PhD. Franklin is there, thank God. Then Shogala is equally here, he's a big man today. Then he didn't have beard, but it's good, he's not a man. Thank you so much. So I am going to be talking on the state of catfish farming today. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go into talking about what the catfish farming looks like today, I am going to be approaching it from the perspective of somebody who is trying to give an historical appraisal of the industry. It isn't just to tell you this is where we are. I am being a 40-year historical appraiser. Why I chose 40 years and not 50 years? Because I should be able to talk to the period I was alive, the period I knew what was happening, the period I was a participant in the industry. Prof definitely predates my time. I didn't want to go into a time when I couldn't say yes for sure this is how the catfish farming industry was. Okay, so the first slide. I am not somebody used to following slides, so permit me to talk from my heart, from my mind. Is that okay? Okay, so the 40 years of historical appraisal is divided into blocks of decades. So I have it in 10 years. The first 10 years is from 1995 to 1995. The second decade is, of course, from the year 1995 to 2005. And you are from 2005 to 2015. And of course, the final decade is going to be from the year 2015 to 2025. You want to ask me, when we are doing these 40 years, why did I stop at 2024? I decided to push it a step further because rather than the old story of challenges and problems that have permeated the industry today, a company like DSM has called all of us together to let us know there is hope if we're able to do it another way. There is hope for this industry. A round of applause for DSM. So the first decade is the decade I call the decade of knowledge. The decade of knowledge. This is from 1985 to 1995. I confirmed with Prof shortly before I came on board that what was his background training. And the simple reason for asking him that question is because before aquaculture evolved, zoology was the background knowledge, the background training people went into. I, for one, I trained as a zoologist. Aquaculture was trying to evolve from zoology. He was telling me that some of the lecturers that taught him when he was in his undergraduate were actually drawn from the zoology department and animal science because aquaculture added television. Ladies and gentlemen, at this stage, I can tell you for free because at the tail end of that particular decade, I was an undergraduate, and part of what we did in order to give scientific and research background to eventually what we call aquaculture, I had to dissect some of these fish. Before we can talk about nutrition of any fish at all, we must understand the biology. We must understand what exactly are the feed component materials that this fish ate. So I was able to know from my practical knowledge that tilapia had a long intestine because it was herbivorous in nature. I was able to establish that the catfish has a very short gut because it was carnivorous. And I was able to equally dissect some of our omnivore fish. This is very important because, ladies and gentlemen, without strong scientific and research background, we will get strong. This was how we started. In this decade of knowledge, most of the people we turn and call professors today were either doing their masters or doing their first degree. And everybody was serious to understand the biology of this fish. I will restrict my talk to the catfish. So people were very serious about understanding the catfish biology. At this time, there were very few farms. The few farms that were established were corporate delivery. You have the likes of Zantec and the CHI, which most of us know as Agile farms. Most farms that were established had to depend on expatriate knowledge and consulting from people probably from Netherlands or people who just graduated. It will interest you to know that most of what we term fingerlings today were actually imported into the country because there were no hatcheries. We needed to depend on imported feed to sustain the industry because as at that time, nutritionists do not understand the biology, let alone know how to adapt the biology to formulate feed for the catfish. Most of us who are in the catfish industry today, we know a person called Mr. Remy Ahmed. Mr. Remy Ahmed was one of those people who were just coming up. He was working with CHI, but as at that time, most of their fish were imported. And as they imported them, they were raising their brood stock in order to start their hatchery. You will understand and bear witness with me that most of the hatcheries that got established at the tail end of that particular decade, you had to book and wait for a minimum of 6 months before you got your fish seed. Do I have a witness in the house? Okay, maybe many of us haven't started our fish farms then. If you booked, you had to wait for a minimum of 6 months before you could get your fingerlings. And interestingly enough, ladies and gentlemen, there were no tails of wool. You know why? The fingerlings and juveniles, which we can fish seed, were produced from very good brood stock. No inbreeding. From there, may I equally add that farmers who came into the industry within that decade faced one thing and one thing alone. They were only doing grow out, which we term table size. They were not into fingerlings, they were not into hatchery. None of them was formulating feed. In fact, most of the feed mills in Nigeria then hadn't any knowledge about fish feed. From there, we go on to the second decade of practice and publicity. Decade of practice and publicity. And please pay attention at this particular decade because this is where we started getting it wrong. And I will establish for you why at this stage we started getting it wrong. The graduate of fisheries management, because as at now, thank God, fisheries and aquaculture are established, were established. So people who graduated with the knowledge of aquaculture could now practice. Most of them started their fish farms and a lot of them were consulting for corporate bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the farmers then were equally doing table size. But before you know what is happening, some marketers came in. Please pay attention at this juncture. For those of you who were old enough in the industry, in the early 2000s, there were publicity that dotted the airwaves, both in the print media and in over the radio and the television. That is when we hear, come and learn about aquaculture. Do you know that with 2 broodstock, you can make 15 million naira? Because 2 broodstock can give you 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 gigalitres, and each one costs 10,000 naira. They will give you the math. At this decade, most of the workshops were featherweight because they were not based on scientific research. Rather, it was based on market. And the people who were applying this particular trade, who were applying this particular knowledge, were people who were ready to cash out quickly from aquaculture. You attend a 3-day workshop, and please, may I ask you, how do you think you can disseminate knowledge that took you 5 years in the university under 3 days and people get it right? But this is what people were selling them as knowledge in aquaculture. It's so unfortunate that a lot of gullible investors went into the business. And don't forget, in earlier decade, people were not into everything. A lot of farmers were only doing one thing, which is the table side. But now, these marketers sold the idea that you can do everything. They told you that you can do hatchery. They told you you can do production, which is the table side. They told you you can do virtually everything. You can formulate your feed, you can sell feed, you can process, you can market. Why did we get it wrong at this stage? 2 key things. The first one is the fact that some of the knowledge that were being disseminated were no longer scientific nor research based. And people who were applying such knowledge were not people who were properly trained in the field of agriculture. And I established this. Ade Alakija, who was the CEO of Durante Farms in Ibadan, for those of you who knew that name, when recirculating aquaculture system was sold into the Nigerian market, it was about the only person who had the technical knowledge about it. So if you must do recirculating aquaculture system, you must go to Durante in Ibadan. And I think deliberately did something there. He would give you a residue of what you needed to set up your recirculating aquaculture system. And he will equally attach to you a plumber to help you set up. Unfortunately, some of the smart plumbers there who knew how to set up the recirculating aquaculture system without knowing the why of what they are doing, they started selling themselves out as consultants. They now became, let me not mention names. They now became consultants. And unfortunately, because they had something in mind to cash out quickly, the amounts are very sweet. A lot of investors would rather listen to them than listen to people who were actually trained in the university. This decade saw a lot of people entering into the aquaculture industry, whose foundation were unfortunately laid on very faulty promises. I forgot to add one thing. Copen's brand entered into the country in the first decade. A few Nigerians were able to take the franchise from Adiana Peter, who brought Copen's into Nigeria. The likes of Felima in Ijebu. For those of you who understand some of the names I'm mentioning, whenever you need Copen's, If you cannot get in Ibadan with Ariana teacher, or you go to Lagos and you cannot get, the next place you are sure to get is with Felima in Ijebu. In this second decade, very unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, as we were transiting into the third decade, which was the decade of struggling and closing down of a lot of fish farms. Unfortunately, the likes of Prof, who during his time took time to look into the research, who was scientific based in his knowledge, some of the students they were producing, unfortunately, also enter into the euphoria of this is what you can do, but theirs in another way. Some of the lecturers who we were producing at that particular time in the second decade were people who were hungry to become professors. And rather than turning out articles that were scientific and research-based, that captured the challenges of the farmers and how the farmers can move forward, they now became lecturers who are hungry for numbers of articles they publish. This is where we got it from, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy Frank is in the house. Prof himself is in the house. Shopella is in the house. Get some of the articles of lecturers today and ask yourself, how can I apply some of the things they wrote in the article? Unfortunately, because it is a game of numbers. How many articles have you published? 45, 50. You get all of them together and you have enough points. You become a professor. A professor on what? The decade of struggling and shutting down, closing down of farms. That's the third decade. This is the decade where investors, unfortunately, did not realize some of the things they were promised. And because they were losing money fast, a lot of them said it is better they count their losses and they shut down. This is when a lot of farms shut down. And unfortunately, some of the big corporate farms equally shut down during this decade. Zate closed shop. You no longer hear of Felima. Durante, unfortunately, equally went down. CHI relocated from Ajamu Estate in Lagos and they came to Ibadan Expressway. There are other names in the industry which I may not be able to mention, but I'm mentioning some of these names because they are familiar. Ladies and gentlemen, the seeds that were sown during the second decade when we are on, how do I put it now? When we are market-based publicity, the seeds have now started germinating and they have started producing fruit. People who did all now understood that they couldn't reap fruit from all. Unfortunately, people who went into the business of aquaculture did not systemize, they did not put system into place. If the owner, the principal of the farm is not around, let him be away for 1 week. By the time he comes back, it will be stories of gold. All because they were sold dummies. It's unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, to equally note that students who are on the what we call IT industrial training would rather get more from the struggling farmers out there than the university. With senior psychology to profit in the house, but it's something you understand very well. Students who are on industrial training for only a period of 6 months will get more from the struggling farms in terms of knowledge and practicality than they are taught at the ivory towers or our institution. It's indeed a decade of struggling. And may I equally note at this juncture that some of the seeds that were sown at the tail end of the second decade, which overlapped into the third decade, which brought in a lot of feed millers into the industry, who do not understand the biology and the scientific basis for formulating feed, let alone compounding it. They are not the ones who are selling us feed. So unfortunate. They sell feed to the unsuspecting farmers who had no alternative than to buy from them. Some of our local feed millers, before I go into the multinational ones, are people who are into dubious and substandard mixing of raw materials. Let me shock you. For some of you who have applied some of these feed millers who sell low raw materials, I take for instance, if you bought soya bean meal from some of them and 72% fish meal, please pay attention to understand what they do. Because your soya bean meal is brownish in color. What they do is they toast maize, they grind maize, and they mix it with SBM. You, the unsuspecting farmer, and of course, because you do not understand what is comparative analysis of this stuff, you buy an SBM that ordinarily should be 44% group protein. By the time you adulterate it with toasted maize, maybe the thing comes to like 28-30. And you are formulating your feed with it with the background that soya bean meal is always 44%. Unfortunately, you never knew you had bought adulterated raw material. You know why that is important? Because some of you feel it is cheaper for you to formulate your feed and compound it than to go and buy the already compounded feed. You never knew some of these sharp practices are going on with our feed millers. The second one is the 72% fish meal. You know the Danish fish meal, 777, right? The smell is so wonderful. But do you know what they do? They mill biscuit waste with the 72% fish meal. And because the fish meal at the end of the day will overshadow everything because of the smell, you do not know that your 72% fish meal is no longer 72. Maybe it has come to 56%. So even you who are properly trained as aquaculturists and who feel you understand nutrition and you are formulating with this raw material, you never knew you had been shortchanged. Let me also talk about the corporate feed millers. I won't mention them so that I won't destroy anybody's business. But this is the reality. Some of the big names amongst us, I was shocked to my mind. One day I visited with a sister of mine in Lagos who literally lost a little catfish. And for the first time, I was seeing the label of one of the big brands in Nigeria. By the time I ran through, I shook my head because I knew that the catfish can never get anything from that particular feed. How do you think you can feed catfish with cassava peel? Catfish that is carnivorous by nature and cassava peel that you can hardly have 4% at the end of processing it. And this is part of the raw materials they put together. You know, when they knew nothing and we were coming up, and I'm sure some of you here in the house who probably do not know better, they tell you feed our blood meal has 72%, that is something percent group protein. Have you ever asked yourself how much of this group protein is available to the catfish by the time you feed it to your fish? When I attended the think tank retreat put together by Last Stefan in March, and we were broken into different groups. The group I belonged, Victoria Nutrition, there was a man who was a feed miller in that particular group. Everybody was talking, oh, this and that. And the person was talking about the raw materials present in protein. And when the person was celebrating blood meal, I said, please, caveat to blood meal. If you must use it at all, It shouldn't be more than this low percent, because as high as the protein may be, it is not available to your catfish. And I took my time to equally check. Do we have probiotics? Do we have enzymes? Some of these big feed millers do not put some of these micronutrients. As somebody who took time during my PhD to see the effect of enzyme on the growth performance of fish, I discovered that as very minute in quantity as enzymes may be, there is a remarkable growth level that you're going to experience when you add enzymes. But most feed millers in Nigeria do not add enzymes. What about probiotics? Ladies and gentlemen, I did tell us earlier on, I'm going to talk from my mind. Let me now talk and look at the last decade, the decade we are in. The decade of great challenges, but at the same time, it is the decade of opportunities. Great challenges because we do not have any reputable firm that we can go to get our food stock now. Tell me, is there one? I was discussing with Said some few weeks ago. I said he is at the precipice of a fantastic change within the industry because of where it's strategically located and what it does. That if he could concentrate on raising a bank of food stock, at least let us start with him. He has the facilities, he has the manpower, and by the grace of God, he has some support. If it will mean that we are bringing in fresh fry of crude stock back from England or from any African countries that have not been polluted, let us do. And I will advocate during this decade of great challenges because a lot of farms have shut down. He and I spoke some few weeks ago, and we discovered that in Badagry axis of Lagos, a lot of farms. I'm not talking about poultry right now. Let me talk to Catfish that my presentation is actually restricted to. A lot of farms are closed down. And there are two major problems among many. The problem of slow growth. We call them runs at the end of the day because they didn't grow well. Unfortunately, the marketers, the buyers, have christened it melange. How many of you have heard that name? They call it melange, right? The real name, the real terminology is runs. So instead of runs, they now christen it melange, but because they cannot pronounce it better, they call it melange. There is nothing like melange. They are runs. Fish that have refused to grow. Why? Because dwarf versus dwarf can never produce a giant. I hope you understand that simple genotypic, what do you call it? If you have a dwarf father, you have a dwarf mother, the likelihood that you are going to produce dwarf progeny is very high. That is why most of the fish that are raised today, because of inbreeding, they have slow growth. And the second major problem is the problem of feed. And I have laid a foundation for us to understand that our feeds are not giving us the desired result. Why? The raw materials themselves have been adulterated. So even if you are the ones formulating your feed and making it by yourself, you are still not going to have results. Or if you go to some of these corporate brands, you are still in the same problem. The third category of people who are into the feed industry today are people who are saying, okay, let us make use of locally available raw materials. Some of them are making use of industrial waste. They tell you, okay, we can make use of biscuits, this and that. But unfortunately, most of those raw materials are materials that are already formed by mycotoxins. They have been exposed. And unfortunately, no probiotics, no enzymes, nothing to fight the mycotoxin. Before I take my seat, it is still a decade of opportunity because the last 2 years where we experienced this food insecurity in Nigeria has actually become a period of demasking the opportunity in catfish. Few weeks ago, before I left Abuja for Lagos, I went into the market to do market survey, and I found out that catfish is actually the cheapest animal protein in the market today. Cheaper than all the imported fish, cheaper than chicken that are produced locally or that are smuggled into Nigeria, cheaper than beef. So I asked myself this question: if only we could sit down to diagnose what our challenges are and to address them properly. Honestly speaking, there is a great opportunity in catfish. If we could take our time to do the right thing, we can actually export our catfish. If our catfish can meet up with the international standard for quality, we can make it. And I hope you know, it does not matter how expensive your feed and your cost of production might be. If you are able to sell offshore and you earn in foreign currency, by the time you convert it into our local currency, it becomes big money. Let me highlight a few things we can do to unlock the opportunities within this catfish industry. A few. I said one in passing, let's build a bank of broodstock that we know is not imbued with inbreeding. Training, like Dsm has afforded us today. However, any training that you must attend, let it be that it is a training that features 3 things. Number 1, it must be scientific based. I'm so glad I prepared my presentation. I never knew what you people are going to present, but I'm so glad that we are listening. It has to be scientific based, a product of research and development. Number 2, it has to come in a form that you can disseminate the knowledge to the layman. I attended a virtual training some few weeks ago. It was international in nature, but I was telling the speaker at the end of the day, if me, a professor, found it very difficult to understand what you are saying, I can imagine how a layman is going to react to it. Most of the trainings we have today are mostly academic rhetorics. They are not speaking to the farmers. And the third one, it must make business sense. If you're asking me to use enzyme, can you tell me in figures, if I put this enzyme, which costs this much, this is what I am going to add when I produce feed and I produce fish with it at the end of the day. These 3 key features are very important in any trade. Last time, please, here, our CEO from Ijabodi, please hear this. Any training that you must publicize, make sure these 3 features are there. Please, enough of singing the whole song of we are in problem, we don't know the way out. No! It's easy for any fool to identify that the building is burning. It takes somebody with innovative perspective to say, yes, the building is burning, but this is what we have done to arrest the infernal. It is a decade of opportunity because if we're able to get it right, we're able to include micronutrients, enzymes into our feed, and we get it right. Then we can start exporting our fish. Because of the opportunity I have as somebody in Abuja, the FCT, on the one hand, and secondly, the university I represent, I can tell you for free, if we are ready to cooperate with companies like Dsm and a few of them who are ready to help us to do the right thing, the door to international market is open unto us. We will be the one who will be on our toes to ensure we meet up with the demand at the global market. Catfish in Nigeria, as it is today, this is the state because it has to go through historical appraisal for us to appreciate where we are. But there is hope. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I put your hands together for Dr. Mambo. He has done a lot of justice to the historical background of the industry from 10 years, 20 years back. We started very late, and there's been a lot of discussions in our time, and bear in mind that one of our experts will be